This is FE Peer Review. The date is the 27th of December, 2023. Seeing the Curve of the Earth. A few days ago, I was walking home from the market. It was a little past sunset and everything was beginning to get dark. You can see the street lights are on. There's no sunlight hitting the ground, no direct sunlight hitting the ground. Everything is in shadow, the shadow of the Earth. And up in the sky, there are some fairly dense, low-lying clouds passing overhead. And way up above that is a contrail. My rough estimate is that contrail is probably about 10,000 meters up there. That's roughly cruising height for most commercial airliners. And these clouds are probably at, I don't know, maybe 2,000 meters to the bottom of the clouds, something in that range, maybe 3,000. I didn't bring my ruler with me to check. But this is something that I see very often. This is something we all see very often around sunset. We've got several layers of clouds, and some of them are in the shadow of the Earth, and others are still in the sunlight. It's another way to see the curve of the Earth. And it's one of those nice, simple observations we can make as we go about our normal day. I'm going to show a little diagram of what's going on here according to the globe Earth model. Now, for all of my globetard friends out there, there is going to be absolutely nothing new here. And for my flat earther friends out there who might be watching this, this is not an attempt to prove the globe. This is simply an explanation as to what we think is going on. And you're welcome to provide some similar explanations as to what you think is going on when we see something like this on our walk home from the supermarket. Let's take a look at a little picture. I made this little picture here, and we've got a little piece of the Earth, and obviously nothing is to scale. This is not an attempt, like as I said before, to make a proof. But here's our Earth curving along, and we've got some dense low-lying clouds, and then way up above there's a contrail going across. And on the left, I've shown the parallel rays of the sun. So the portion of the Earth that is on the left side would be in daylight, the sun hitting the Earth's surface. And that would be the point of the shadow line. And on the right side, this ground surface would be dark and would be moving into night. If we look at this black line that's tangent to the circle there, basically everything below that black line is going to be within the shadow of the Earth, and everything that's above it is going to be outside the shadow of the Earth. So let's go over here and take a look at this little guy here. It's a little picture of me there. You all wonder what I look like. That's what I look like. Here I am. You can say you've seen me. And I'm walking along on my merry way home from the market, and I'm seeing a break in the clouds. And I can look through that break, and up here is the contrail, and it's in the sunlight. And down here, these clouds, they're all in the shadow of the Earth. So that's a little diagram explaining how this phenomenon could be explained or is explained on a globe Earth. If any of my flat Earth friends would like to provide such an explanation for their flat Earth, I would be very interested to see it. I'm sure others would be too. I wanted to show another example of this in video form. I'll provide a link to this video in the description. It's from, I believe, last January, so almost a year ago. It was one of the SpaceX launches. It was a live stream that went on for close to an hour and a half, so I'm just going to pick out a couple of timestamps here. The launch actually occurred at 52 minutes into the live stream, and we see the very first bits of the exhaust coming up here. I'm going to play this. Few seconds of it. There it goes on its way. And as we can see in the foreground, everything in the foreground is dark. The sky is dark, getting dark, and it's happening at sunset, so everything where we are is already in the dark. And the rocket itself is also not directly lit by the sun. We're seeing it rather dark. But about a minute into the launch, a wonderful thing happens here. Let's just go for a few more seconds. We see the flame coming out of the back, but we don't see any sort of a contrail. Okay, here's a good spot to stop. Again, very similar to my photo. Everything in the foreground is in dark. And up here we have a contrail. Well, about a minute into the launch, we suddenly see a contrail from behind the rocket, and that's because the rocket has moved up high enough that it is now in the daylight zone. It has moved outside the shadow of the Earth. I'm going to jump ahead to that. It's at 5329. Actually, a little bit back. So here it is, and we see the flame. At this point, no contrail, but we'll run it for a few seconds, and you'll see a contrail suddenly appear. Here it comes. So now the rocket has moved into, or I should say now the rocket has moved outside of the shadow of the Earth. On our diagram, it would be as if the rocket had taken off. Here's the mouse. As if the rocket had taken off, and then at this point it crosses into this part of the sky that's beyond the shadow of the Earth, and we can now see the contrail illuminated by the sunlight. So there you go. That's all I had to say this evening. Just wanted to share that little tidbit with you. Welcome your comments. Click on the like button if you enjoyed this, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.